Trevor Noah can mimic any accent in the world.
Isn't that a little presumptuous?
Even yours. But did you know he also speaks 6 languages without ever taking a single grammar lesson?
I'm sorry, I don't speak any English. I apologise. No, I speak no English whatsoever.
Turns out the key to learning a language isn't about grammar at all, but something entirely different. In this video, I'm going to show you how Trevor uses accents, immersion, and humour to pick up languages naturally.
Shit just got real.
You'll learn his exact secrets for breaking through the barriers that hold most people back from learning a language. Even if you've always felt awkward speaking a language, you will learn exactly how to let loose, have fun, and connect with people from day one. What do you do when your mum speaks one language and your dad speaks another, and your neighbours speak at least 3 more, but your mum insists that you speak English? So much so that she names you after John Travolta. Get it? Travolta? Trevor? Close enough. The funny part, they didn't even live in an English-speaking town. Many people could understand it, but it wasn't the street language.
Got to be careful though coming to South Africa, you know? Because you'll come to South Africa and you'll meet up with a coloured person and be like, "Excuse me, sir, are you mixed race?" I'll probably be like, "You're massive mixed race."
Is that Afrikaans? Sounds like a dialect. Well, Trevor Noah's life came with a plot twist that shaped his incredible language skills. You see, it wasn't just about being mixed race. In South Africa, where he grew up, there are 11 official languages, not to mention wildly different accents for each one. So I got very curious about how it all works and how Trevor learned so many of them. My name is Olly Richards. I'm a linguist and an author, and I've taught tens of thousands of people languages. So naturally, I had to know how in the world a comedian managed to pull all of this off with 0 lessons. In fact, a simple phrase in the right accent quite literally saved him.
It's actually a shortcut that I use for learning languages, because people don't realize this. If you want to learn languages, there are 2 things you have to understand.
In a place like Soweto, where Trevor grew up, language wasn't just a way to communicate, it was survival. One day when he was a teenager, he overheard some Zulu guys planning to rob him. They thought he was from another tribe, but Trevor quickly switched to Zulu and greeted them.
I just turned to the guys and I basically just spoke to them. I was like, "Show my fit. My chance.
He said, "Who are we going to rob?" And just like that, their attitude changed. Like, "Okay, you're one of us." He's not.
Although obviously he was planning to like rob me, it was a weird humanizing moment where he saw me as someone as opposed to something.
Now, this wasn't about being fluent in another language. It certainly wasn't about robbing people. It was about knowing how to sound like them, because language has power.
1, language is mostly about rhythm, and 2, you have to be willing to be an idiot to learn a new language.
Well, he was definitely willing to be an idiot, a brave one. But wait, I didn't catch the part where he learned Zulu.
Good morning. Goeiemorgen.
Sawubona.
Abushini.
Dumela.
Now imagine trying to keep track of all of this as a kid. Soweto was a community full of different ethnic groups, each with its own language, like Zulu, Xhosa, Sotho, and many more. Historically, they would have lived separately, so this was interesting, a lot of rivalries going on. The quickest way to bridge the gap through language. And there was one special lady who he very quickly learned the tricks from.
If you can speak to somebody in their language, and I mean even in like the cadence, the street language, whatever it is that they use, if you can really speak to them in their language, they stop seeing you as the other.
Trevor's mum didn't just teach him words, she taught him context. You see, she was Xhosa, but she insisted on speaking to him in English because she believed it would help him succeed in life. And yet when she was angry, she would always fall back on Xhosa. As a naughty child, I was well versed in Xhosa threats for my own safety.
My mom would always say to me, "Uispanga." It's a special type of idiot. You know, it's like a combination of things. It's like a disaster.
And I have to say, when you can really feel the weight of a language, like with strong emotion aimed at you, that's one way to never forget the lines. Look out later for a useful PDF I'm going to give you that's going to give you a lot more tips about this. But his mum was so cool. She would actually pick up other languages from her surroundings, useful ones like Zulu and Afrikaans.
I would always watch her speaking to people in their language. She was always adamant about that. She'd always want to learn. And the biggest thing I learned from my mom, in order to be good at learning a language, you have to lose your ego.
She was a smart lady. She used language to handle problems. And so Trevor learned to do the same. He calls it simulcasting, giving people the conversation in their own language. But in case you're curious, this is not unique to Trevor Noah. That is amazing. Keep it up, guys. In Soweto, Trevor learned by socializing with friends who spoke different languages. But in South Africa, it's common common for people to pick up multiple languages just through socializing.
You will never find a South African who can speak just one language, I promise you right now.
Next. Hello, my name is Sugupilam Kosana. Next.
Looks fun. I might as well point out that a lot of these languages are very similar. So if you know one, it's quite easy to pick up others. It's not necessarily that you get fluent, but you learn to communicate well and, yeah, pick your language weapon. Meanwhile, in another neck of the woods, there was Trevor's dad.
I tried to start learning German because my dad is Swiss German, right? Because I thought it would bring us closer together, right? And I met him, and then I started speaking to him in German, and he was like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm speaking German. He's like, no, it's better if you speak English. This is. He's like, it's better if you don't speak German at all. It's fine.
Okay, so his dad is Swiss German, but he never grew up with him and never learned the language. But he's trying to learn it now with just one little hiccup.
Like I'd go in places and then I'd order food, and someone would be there and be like, Guten Tag, was will Sie haben? And then I'll be like, Ich will ein klein Brötchen haben.
Now, we're covering a lot of great tips in this video, and you might be worried about forgetting them. So I've made a little PDF for you to download that contains all of the language learning tricks that you hear from Trevor Noah in this video, plus a bunch of my own too. If you'd like the PDF, grab your phone and scan this QR code or click the link in the description. It's going to take you to my free story learning kit. And when you're inside the story learning kit, you will find the PDF in the bonus section. So now you'll be able to incorporate all of Trevor's tips into your own language learning. And who knows, maybe you will end up host of The Daily Show one day, because that's definitely connected. Click the link right now to grab the PDF. Now, where were we? Yes, we're almost at a really big secret shortcut. But first, there's one question that only Trevor can answer. Trevor, how many languages can you really speak?
I speak English, obviously. I speak Afrikaans, which is a form of Dutch. I speak African languages, so I speak Zulu, I speak Xhosa, I speak Tswana, I speak Tsonga.
Well, you heard it from the man himself. 7 languages. And then he was interrupted, so who knows? But there's a surprise twist coming, be warned. So what's his secret? How does he manage without taking any lessons? Well, I'll tell you, he starts with the one thing that stands out most.
I learn in restaurants. That's a safe place to start. You learn, you read off the menu, you try and pronounce the words correctly. I was inspired by French restaurants, funny enough. Could we get the Sauvignon Blanc, please? Yes, and we definitely for Maine's going to have the filet mignon.
So Trevor doesn't start with words. He doesn't start with grammar. What else is there? That's right, accent. He starts with the basic sounds people make when they speak any language. You know these in English. It's A, E, I, O, U, A, E, U, E, O. Other languages have different basic building block sounds. The way that you sound is what people notice first.
Trevor, brah. Hey, Trevor Noah. Hey, Masakan. Hey, man, you're making us proud, no? Yeah, man, you're doing big things for us, but I can ask you a favor, no? Don't lose your accent, no? Don't lose your accent.
See what I mean? It's like the music of the language, the rhythm, the tone, the flow. That hits your ear first. And the cool part is that accents they're not just sounds, they carry culture too.
I've learned over time that even if you can't learn a language, an accent is a great way to communicate with somebody in your own language whilst trying to bridge the gap. You learn somebody's accent, you communicate more effectively.
Trevor once said that when you mimic someone's accent, it makes them feel seen. And honestly, it's no surprise. It's like saying, I get you, I respect where you're coming from. It's a very good way to break the ice, but here's the catch. You've got to be careful with it.
You have to learn the accent in the right way. If you're going to speak to someone in their accent and you do it in the wrong way, you might come across as racist. Also, check my tires, eh? Pressure, pumpy, not too much, eh?
Definitely do not do that. Well, I have to say, this seems like a really unique approach, learning the culture and the accent first. You know who else does this? Yeah, babies. Babies don't start with flashcards. That would be completely weird. They copy you constantly and eventually figure out what it all means. Trevor uses the exact same process.
That's how I learn languages, is I start with the accent, and then you learn the intonation. The Australian that I do is a friend of mine from Australia. And then if I do a Nigerian accent, it's a friend of mine from Nigeria. And because people all have different accents. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know what an Indian accent is. I know what my Indian friend sounds like, so I just impersonate his accent.
I bet you're wondering if you could do this too, right? Well, here's an idea. Ever met a kid?
That's why kids learn languages so quickly. They mimic everything you say. So you'll be like, don't touch that. Then they'll be like, da da da. And you're like, don't touch, da da da. And you know what I mean? They're not like, I'm not saying it correctly. They just keep speaking.
Exactly. And you can do this too. You just need to trust that your brain is designed to pick up language. Be like a kid. Listen to how native speakers pronounce words and just copy them. They don't have to hear you. I mean, you can even copy someone's accent from a TV show.
You become debilitated, enervated, and dilapidated.
Well, my friend, if you need any more convincing, fluency does not mean speaking perfectly. Pick a character you like and focus on just sounding like them. Listen, imitate, and don't worry about the words themselves just yet. It's going to help you feel comfortable speaking with all these new sounds that your voice isn't used to yet. What's that thing that they say? Do it like nobody's watching.
English words that I find difficult to pronounce. Arr. 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 It's a difficult word, okay? Everything inside me wants to say horror. Horror.
Listen, the ones who are willing to look stupid are usually the ones who end up learning the most. But what if you're still too nervous to even start trying? Well, don't worry, Trevor has a way to overcome that too, and it's something that anybody can do.
I found out in Spain that my Spanish is flawless. The problem is I only speak like 7 words of Spanish. But those 7 words are flawless.
Hey, this is normal. Everyone runs out after 7 words in the beginning. Try to see the funny side since we're all learning from a comedian here.
In the morning, someone will see me and they'll be like, hola. And then I'll be like, hola, ¿cómo estás? And then they'll be like, oh, muy bien, ¿y tú? And I'll be like, grande, muy bien. And they'll be like, oh, this is cool, you know? And I'll meet people, I'll be like, hey, ¿cómo te llamas? And they'll be like, oh, mi nombre es Sonia. I'll be like, oh, you know? And I'll get into a vibe and I'll be with the people, I'll be asking people stuff, I'll be giving directions. And then I just run out because I only learn as much as I can learn.
He communicated, they understood. What's the big deal? Which brings us to Trevor's next shortcut. Immersion. Only this time, it isn't the kind where you need a plane ticket. Wait, what does immersion even mean? Well, immersion is all about surrounding yourself with a language in your everyday life. For Trevor, it started in Soweto, at parties where people were switching between 3 or 4 languages, Zulu,
Xhosa,
English, you name it. That was immersion. No one translated a damn thing. They were just figuring it out as they went along. So in this case, Trevor and his mates learned by observing people. You listen. You piece things together from context. It was going to lead to an awesome language hack. Just wait and see. But you've got to hear this part of the story first. Trevor's prom was, let's say, well, it was unique. He didn't have a date, and so his friend set him up with a stunner called Babiki, and she was perfect, except for one tiny problem. She only spoke a language that Trevor didn't understand. Seriously? So Trevor tried every language he knew. He tried Zulu,
Xhosa,
English. Nothing worked. Now, the night turned into a masterclass in awkward. Turns out even Trevor Noah's language skills have their limits. Did he still get the girl? Oh yeah, but I bet he knows a little bit of Pedi now. And here's the beauty of immersion. It forces you to connect words with real situations. You see, hear, and experience the language all at once, and in that perfect storm, you don't forget them. Like all the babies in the world ever. Exactly like that. So okay, you're probably not trying to learn Zulu, maybe not even Spanish, but what if you want to learn a language from another country? Like French, for example. Does this trick actually work if you're not living in France? I think you will like my answer. You do not need to move abroad. You can recreate immersion at home, and there's lots of things you can do. For example, change all of your media watching habits to French, your TV shows, your music, your podcasts. You can sign up to an AI language tool like Langua to access these same podcasts and YouTube and automatically get the script and study them line by line, word by word. It's fantastic. And then you can even practice speaking with the AI on the topic that you've just been reading and listening about. Seriously, Langua is very, very cool for this. There's a link in the description below. Just start small and easy with some daily habits. Get yourself going and build from there. Say when you're having your morning tea or coffee, great time for a podcast. And while you're doing stuff like chores, driving, gymming, because that's definitely a word. Basically, kick off your day with whatever you normally do, but do it in the target language.
You're constantly exposing your brain to new vocabulary, new grammar, some interesting phrases, even if you're not actively studying them.
It would be awesome to find a native speaker to chat with sometimes, even if you only know a few words.
Lizo te kwa kwa nga mouth.
Take it outside.
Lizo te kwa kwa.
Lizo te kwa kwa.
Kwa kwa.
Yeah, no.
Gotta get that. It's like hitting topspin.
I can only
topspin
go.
with your tongue. Kwa kwa.
But you can also talk to yourself, like literally narrate your day out loud. Here I am, I'm washing my hands, I'm going to the car. That lovely face in the mirror, it's not judging you. Languages are hard. I get it, I feel you, but the trick isn't to try to understand everything, it's just to stick with it for long enough to actually make progress. When you hear a language every single day, you start to notice patterns and you'll find yourself thinking, okay, that works. That's how you say it.
So my dad's family, my mom's family, everyone has like a hybrid because everyone moved around a lot. So whenever you go to a different house, it's just easier to speak to them in their accent.
I'll be honest, I'm good at languages, but never ask me to do accents in English. You will instantly regret it. But I can switch languages quite easily, and accents between foreign languages, no problem. So I know there's a big truth in this. Trevor's ability to code switch so smoothly is a huge key to his success.
Your parents, you'd be sitting with them watching TV or something, and then like your dad would be like, put volume. And you'd be like, do you mean increase the volume? Be like, hey, I'll increase or decrease your life. Don't act smart here.
That is hilarious. So what is code switching then? Well, it's when you adapt the way that you speak for the other person's sake so that they understand you. And often what happens is that your brain flips between languages automatically. So for example, if you're from the States, you've probably heard of Spanglish, when people mix English with Spanish, right? That's code switching. In South Africa, code switching is pretty much second nature.
Sir. English or Afrikaans?
There's a study about this in a journal called Bilingualism, Language and Cognition. They found that the more you practice flipping languages in real time, the less you'll pause to find the right words, because it strengthens your brain's ability to think quickly and adapt. Isn't that great? It reminds me of the time when I used to speak really good Spanish, and then I went to live in Brazil and spoke Portuguese, and then came back home, couldn't speak Spanish because I'd learned Portuguese, and I had to go through a period of a few months learning to use Portuguese and Spanish at the same time, because that in itself is a skill, learning to use two very similar languages together. You know, it really does make a big kind of dent in your brain in a good way. But code switching is not just about languages, it could be accents too. Trevor explained it like this. He said, I change a few words, I change my tone, I change my accent slightly. No wonder he connects with so many people.
But then there's also like Afrikaans switching. Because when I speak to a Beggie, I speak differently to when I speak to Oom Jacobus.
If you fancy having a go at this awesome trick of Trevor's, you could start real simple. Let's say that you want to learn French. Well, first you practice the accent. You speak your own language, but with a French accent.
And welcome to this exploration of how to sound French.
And be free with the body language, you know. Next, choose some words or phrases that you like and swap out a few sentences with English or whatever you speak.
I'm going to out of here after this video.
And then next week, make it a little bit harder until half the things you say are in French.
You know, just learning those small little throwaway things that Greek people will do, just like ella. Just like they say things and they throw it out and they have fun with small words. I think those are great things to incorporate in language, even if you're speaking one predominant language, that you can start to almost, to like build out your language, to fortify it into something that has a lot more character. So I love that.
Remember, this is just for practice. You aren't trying to invent some hybrid language here. It's just a fun way to ease into things and overcome that, the psychological barrier that can just stop you easing into the language. And once you're good enough to have basic conversations, practice switching between languages with real people, like Trevor does. I have a trick of my own to share here. If you've got a journal or a work diary, great, grab that. Start writing part of your day in the new language. You could write the date in French and maybe just one thing you plan to do that day. Now you're kind of code switching. All right, it's written, but you're still doing it, right? Next step, well, watch out world, here comes a bilingual.
Growing up as a young boy in Wakanda, I would see King T'Challa flying over our village, and he would remind me of a great Xhosa phrase, Abelungu abayazi bandiaqoka, which means in times like these, we are stronger when we fight together than when we try to fight apart.
Trevor has one rule when it comes to learning languages. It's gotta be fun, which brings me to the real translation of that. What can I say? If it's fun, you remember. And since we're stealing his methods, don't be afraid to laugh at yourself. Humour is a key part of language learning, Trevor-style.
All right, hot dog. It sounds unnatural in my mouth. Hot dog. Would you like a hot dog? It sounds stupid. It's a hot dog.
This comes right back to learning the culture first, not the perfect words. And if you think about how much easier it is to remember a joke than to remember something difficult like a French spelling lesson, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Right now, here comes the moment of truth. Remember I warned you about a surprise twist? Well, what happens when you say you can speak 7 languages and the next thing, Duolingo rings you up and invites you to teach 2 of them on their app?
You're going to need a whole section in class just to teach people about the clicks.
In 2022, Duolingo asked Trevor Noah to bring Zulu and Xhosa to the app. And then this happened.
I feel like somebody's trolling me on the internet. Every time I go do an interview, the languages increase. I do not speak 8 languages. I speak 5 languages. I speak English, obviously. I speak Afrikaans, which is an offshoot of Dutch. I speak Zulu. I speak Tswana. I speak Tsonga. And then I can dabble in German.
That's right. Even with his amazing ability to communicate in so many languages, Trevor admits he's still learning. And he's not even fluent in Xhosa, let alone German. But you know what? That's okay. In fact, it's amazing because whatever level he's at in all those extra languages, he's learned a life-changing truth. The point is not perfection, it's connection.
That's the real joy of language. If you can get into a world where you speak with people who speak all of the languages, man.
Tell me something, do you like this cool chameleon brain of his? Well, guess what, my friend? You have one too.
Anyone who speaks multiple languages will tell you, you're not the same personality in every language. It's a crazy thing, but you're not the same personality in every language.
Wait, what? Believe it or not, he's telling the truth. This is actually backed by science, and it's fascinating. That's right, and if you're curious about how language can change not only your personality, but your actual brain, you're definitely going to want to watch the next video. It can lead to all sorts of wonderful things like tricking your mind into a time machine.